Arizona says to the feds, if you don't do it, we will. And what does their senior U.S. Senator John McCAIN think about that? Senator, nice to see you, sir.
Thank you, Greta. Thanks for having me on again.
There are many people, not so many, I guess, in Arizona, but certainly outside the state of Arizona, giving Arizona an awful lot of heat over this statute that's been passed and that Governor Brewer has signed into law. What's your thought about the federal government and the state government in this battle over immigration?
Well, first of all, the governor and the legislature acted out of sheer frustration that the federal government is not carrying out its constitutional responsibilities to secure our border. Our border is unsecured. I'd like to give you two numbers to indicate that. In just the Tucson sector last year, 241,000 illegal immigrants were apprehended. We figure they catch about 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5. That means that over 1 million people crossed our border illegally last year. Imagine what that does to the people that live in southern Arizona. The second number I'd like to give you is 1.7 million pounds of marijuana were interdicted across the Arizona border last year. 1.7 million pounds. The drug cartels are in an existential struggle with the government of Mexico. The violence on the border is skyrocketing. 22,000 people in Mexico have been killed in the drug wars, and our border is not secure. So my answer is that this law, I probably would have written a little differently, but it does clearly state that you have to have reasonable cause to stop someone. So what's being portrayed out there is that you can just willy-nilly stop someone is not accurate. You have to have reasonable cause. Let me put in layman's terms, if I could. We have a seatbelt law that if you stop someone for speeding, say, or reckless driving, and that person doesn't have a seatbelt on, then you can give them a citation. But you can't stop them just for not having the seatbelt fastened. See my point? That's what this is like.
All right, well, I'm sure this will get sorted out in courts and and some judge will decide whether it's constitutional or not. But the thing that strikes me is that we've been playing these sound bites at night going back many national leaders. President Reagan said we've got to secure the borders. We've shown sound bites. President Obama said that he was going to take care of the problem. Everybody on the national level said that he or she's going to take care of the problem, but it's not done. What is the federal government's problem? What don't you get about it? You tell us, but you don't do anything.
Well, they haven't devoted the assets or the personnel to the issue. John Kyle and I have a 10-point plan, including sending 3,000 National Guard to the border right away, recruiting 3,000 additional Border Patrol, getting the surveillance capabilities, including UAVs and other capabilities, in place. Greta, there are two sectors in Arizona, Yuma and Tucson. They have taken steps in Yuma, which has dramatically reduced the flow of illegal immigrants across our border, that they haven't in Tucson. That's a good comparison there. San Diego, they have reduced crime by a dramatic amount by having a triple fence over there. We can secure our borders. Other countries have secured their borders, and most importantly, it's an obligation for us to have our borders secure.
But why won't you? Governor Napolitano said, she wanted the she's made statements about security in the borders. Then she becomes a federal person. She becomes head of Homeland Security, and suddenly the enthusiasm seems to dissipate a little bit. And I don't know if it's because it's the impossible problem or what it is, but there's a real disconnect between this real problem. Everyone agrees we need to secure the border and getting it done.
Yes, then Governor Napolitano called for the Guard to be on the border.
When she was governor?
When she was governor of the state of Arizona. Now, obviously, they have not given any decision. It was over a year ago that John Kyle and I called for the Guard to be on the border because we saw this violence going up dramatically on the other side of the border, knowing full well that it was going to spill over, and it is going to spill over. Do not underestimate the sophistication, the barbarity, and the capability of the drug cartels and the human smugglers who basically coordinate with each other as they take people up through these corridors. A couple of weeks ago, we busted an organization that took people from Nogales, New Mexico, to Nogales, Arizona, to Tucson, then in vans to Phoenix, and then distributed them all over the country. Some of those people came from as far away as China. This is a sophisticated effort. They take people and they put them in these drop houses, subject them to cruelty, make their families pay ransom before they'll let them go. They are the cruelest, most barbaric people. And this cry for human rights, we want human rights for these people, not to be exploited and subjected to the cruelty of these coyotes who are in terrible people. Just last week, I think it was last week, 67 people were crammed into a U-Haul rental vehicle, panel truck. 67 people. I mean, it's unspeakable, some of the things that are being done.
In the New York Times this morning, I read that there were 3 people murdered in front of school kids in Mexico on Wednesday. 7 other people were taken out of a bar, some of them boys, and executed. I mean, the level of violence just across our border. Are we doing enough to help Mexico? And how in the world did Mexico get so wildly out of control that it seems that they've called in their military?
Yes, and their military has become their only effective instrument. There's so much corruption, unfortunately, amongst their border patrol and police and others. The Mexican government is doing everything that it can. Calderon is a good man, the president of Mexico. We are coordinating with them. We're spending over $1 billion in trying to help them with technology and others. But I have to tell you, this is an existential threat for the existence of the Mexican government. And there are areas where the drug cartels have taken over, at least temporarily. We need to help them in that fight. If they lose that fight, you can imagine the consequences to the United States of America. And by the way, the drug business, I understand, some estimates, is $65 billion a year.
President Obama, when there's a discussion the other day about your state's new state statute, referred to it as misguided. How do you get his attention on this? Because there's just no question that there's a horrible amount of violence, and that's going to get. I think it's going to get worse because it's not getting any prettier in Mexico. How do you get President Obama's attention on this?
Well, I hope he might take the opportunity to come down to our border and meet the people whose property is being routinely violated and our wildlife refuges that are being destroyed because of the movement of these people across our borders. I wish that he would listen to his own border patrol, who will tell you that there's more than they can handle down there. The president never had a lot to do with these issues while he was a state senator or the short time he was a United States senator. I hope he'll educate himself. And for him to say this law was misguided, then I would also urge him to read the law, because the law does not, in my view, violate people's rights, nor does it have anything to do with racial profiling. It has to do with probable cause. And again, I am confident of one thing the president should know. The legislature and the governor of Arizona would never have acted if it had not been for the fact that we have an out-of-control border, and it's a threat to the safety and security of our citizens.
What about the Hispanic community? They're terrified that this is going to be racial profiling, and that's an element. Is that a political element to it? Are people here in Washington worried about getting votes from the Hispanic community?
I've talked to many in the Hispanic community who are deeply concerned and upset about what is being done to these people who are being transported across their border, the mistreatment, the cruelty, the brutality that's being inflicted on them. And I've talked to many Hispanics who know that we have to secure our border. So our job, in my view, my job, is to convince our Hispanic citizens that we are doing this to try to protect the lives of Hispanic citizens. And also, as patriotic citizens, they should know as well the importance of a secure border.
It seems to me that that's a human rights issue. We don't want people to be abused and tortured and beaten. It's a criminal element, because the crime is going to be exported to the United States. Much of it has, and of course the drug aspect. You've already given the statistics, and there may be an economic cost. And so it seems to me that it's just crying out for attention, and it's hard for me to sort of understand, why so slow?
I don't know why the president and the administration have not done enough. I have to say, in all candor, in the early years, the Bush administration didn't do enough.
Well, President Reagan asked for it too. We can go away. Everybody has dropped the ball on this.
Yeah, but I also would like to say in the last couple of years of the Bush administration, there was significant progress made. Look, we've learned lessons in Iraq as far as being able to set up barricades and barriers, surveillance capabilities with UAVs and other capabilities. We can do it. We can secure our border. Then, after the border is secured, then we need to look at a temporary legal guest worker program and a path to citizenship and all that. But first, the border has to be secured.
Now, we have much more with Senator McCain just minutes away in this hour. We ask